Hello everyone, so I thought I'd give you an update on the project, the PSP Bluetooth project. So where to start? Okay, so I've been calling it PSP Bluetooth, and I've realised that I've not really explained that, because at the very start the GitHub and everything was called PSP Consolizer. Because the original project, the idea was it'd take a PSP, maybe a damaged one, where the motherboard's working, and you could turn it into a console you can put underneath your TV and play on the TV. And I'd seen the things like the GBA, HD, whatever it's called, sort of equivalent ones for them, where you get an add-on board, attach it to your GBA, and you can hook it up to the telly and play on that. So that's what that was called. But then I realised when I had a bit of a break that when someone hears a consolizer, they generally think whatever the mod is dealing with video as well as audio, as well as controllers, which I'm not. This project is purely to give Bluetooth controller support, so it makes sense to call it PSP Bluetooth. So yes, that's why it's been renamed. The old branch, I guess you could call it old, it's not really old, but I've put it on a legacy branch on my GitHub. It's in the description on the GitHub. So if you wanted to build an external consolizer, I guess you could still call it then, you still can. I made a 3D printable mount, I made a custom PCB, and it all fits really nicely and works well, but that targets the Arduino that I've mentioned previously. I've just waffled on there, but that brings me nicely to a person I've been working with on this called Ben. Got a YouTube channel, and he reached out to me a little while ago to say that he's done like an install video for my consolizer, and to just call it an install video is not giving it credit. I mean, that video is fantastic. It goes into so much detail. It's really good quality build video, from start to finish, from ordering the parts, from having the PCBs made, from assembling the PCBs and using it. It's really cool. So I'd check out that video. The link will be in the description if you wanted to build an external consolizer with this. Maybe you've got a damaged PSP and the motherboard works. He has also they have also made a dock. So I'm now working obviously on the internal version of this, where you can still use the PlayStation as a handheld console, but you could then plug the TV out cable in and play it on your telly. So he's designed a dock where you can slot the PlayStation in and take it out, and everything works. I think it was based off of a dock that is only available in Japan or something when it was released, and is insanely expensive, but it looks awesome. It looks really good, and I think once we have this whole thing working where you can just plug it in, it'll automatically turn onto the telly maybe, or you connect your controller and then it'll turn onto the telly. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So I'll put links to all of that stuff in the description, because that's going to look really smart, I think, when it's all finished. Right, I'm out of breath now from all of that. So what have I been doing? Well, I started a new job this week, actually, on a slightly unrelated note. So I've been pretty knackered. I haven't really done much this week, so that's why there's been a bit of a delay. But it's going really well, really enjoying it. It's a proper tech company, software is the thing that they make their money from. So it's really cool to work for a proper software house. But I had a bit of a break from this project, so now I'm back at it. So what have I done since? So I showed you the web portal, the initial idea of it, but I've neatened that up, I've fixed some bugs in it, I've made the user experience what I think is to be really good, because I want this whole experience to be really polished. I want it to feel like a professional product, even though I'm not selling it and it's not, a real product. I wanted it to have that polish, something to be proud of. So I spent a lot of time fixing bugs and getting the flow just right so that it feels nice to use. I'll show you in a minute, but what I wanted to show you now is the process end to end of you installing, well, programming your ESP with it and using the serial monitor built into it to see the output of that. Yeah, so I'm going to start screen sharing in a minute, and then we'll go from there. Right, so you'll have to forgive the fact I'm recording this on my phone, but for some reason my screen capture software stopped working. I think the bloody drivers have balked themselves or something. So this is the web app. It's live. You can see it's running the real one, so you could hit it now if you wanted to. And I've got an initial release. This is just me messing about, testing stuff. Let's change the theme. Let's make it a bit nicer. There we go. So if we could program that now, but we could also go to the serial monitor and connect to the ESP. So I'm connected, and you can see it's logging troll face. So that's important if you pay attention to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. So this is really difficult for me to type whilst the camera's in front of me, and you probably can't even see it. So I've changed that. So if I commit this, if I can type properly. So if you pay attention to this commit message, so push that up, there we go. So now if we go to my GitHub, for some reason I can't think of the word then, and we go to actions, we should see that that's kicked off a new build. So what that's going to do is that will, it will build it, it will generate the binaries or that stuff, it will generate a new release in GitHub, which is what powers this this page. So currently all releases are what's called pre-releases. So that means you could download them if you want to, but they're not considered production ready. So currently, as I think I've mentioned before, I can't remember, this screen only looks for releases that are tagged as internal, because potentially I could continue doing the external consolizer that I've already mentioned, and they'd also be available here. And it only looks for ones that are tagged as pre-release, because the idea of this page currently is that it's just for early access kind of stuff. Going forward, it will just be a filter toggle to make this display production releases. So if I look in here and see how far that's got. Oh, it's uploading the binaries now. So we have to upload the binaries to GitHub, and then we can create a release off the back of them. So it's just uploading them now. I've got a horrible feeling my son is going to start crying. I think I heard something. So I may have to pause if he does. And this is taking longer than I expected. And I'm struggling, I've things to think to say. So eventually that'll be done. Oh, it was done. Okay, whatever. Right. So if we go back in here, we can see we've got two. And that super duper is what appears there. So that's how I can, when I'm sort of doing this for real, tell you guys what is in this release, you know, what feature I've added or whatever. So that's how that works. And this is the binary that was generated. So you can go into GitHub with this button and view the release in GitHub and download the binary yourself if you wanted to flash it yourself. But this site, the beauty of this is it supports any operating system, and you need no extras on your machine. You don't need to install Arduino IDE or the ESP tools or anything. So let's go back to the serial. Let's connect, and I will reset the ESP. So to confirm, we have Trollface there. So if I go back to the program, and I go to program, so this is experimental technology. The technologies that allow your web browser to talk to the ESP are not standardized, which means things can get a bit funky sometimes. So basically, the gist of it is don't disconnect or close your browser whilst it's programming. Then you get another message saying, are you really sure you want to do this? And then you click program. So what you get again is yet another message telling you, don't be a fool, don't close your browser, pretty much. and then it will begin to download the binary from GitHub. There we go, well, that's done, and now it'll try and connect to the ESP. Sometimes you have to hold the boot button. I really don't understand why. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But now it's connected and it's flashing. It's programming the ESP. It doesn't take long at all. This is using serial and it's done. That ESP is now programmed. We've been told it's done. This is the release. So that's the build number, and that's the bit that marks it as an internal release as opposed to a consolizer external one. So if we close that and go to the serial monitor and connect to it again, and then reset the ESP, because it only logs this when it first boots up, we can see it now says super duper. So we've gone end to end and flashed it. So that's it really. Yeah, so the idea is, this is all using serial. So you've plugged the cable into the USB, into the ESP. I have got an experimental, it's not on here, it's not publicly available yet, way of doing it via Bluetooth, and there will be another button there. That technology allows you to do the button configurations and all that stuff, but it will also allow you to do the flashing, the programming like this, but over Bluetooth. So it's much more convenient for once you've got it inside the PSP, but it's much slower. So this is generally, this mechanism would be for first time. You know, you've just built it, you need to flash something on there for the very first time, you use this, and then from there going forward, you'd go to the Bluetooth page that I'll be showing you in the next video and do it through that. So this is pretty much it. So I'm going to close this now, and until next time, thanks for watching.